editing breakdown of my film that I'm going to go through, because it's far easier than typing everything out, because there was a lot of ups and downs making this thing. Oh my lord, I cannot even begin to describe to you how much I went through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the film and just talk about each section individually. I'm going to talk about overall stuff like color grading, color correction at the end, because it's not like individual, but I'm just going to go through the hardships of individual clips, not individual clips, but like individual parts that I had to deal with. Now, as you can see, it's a lot. 34 minutes is not fun, but we got it done. So yeah. Now we start off with the beginning. The beginning was a bit. I realized I did not get enough B-roll footage to be able to fill the beginning up and for the rest of the film, so it was quite a bit tricky, like to be able to do the right shots and keep certain shots I wanted for later without wasting it. I should probably put the audio on. So it was kind of like just making sure I balanced out the amount of clips I wanted to use and didn't waste anything. So originally, I mean, actually I'm going to turn off the things that weren't here in the beginning. So originally it was like kind of like this without color correction. So this wasn't color corrected yet, obviously. But I went through it. I chose to have the first two clips like just be nature, because like that's what I wanted it introducing as. It's just like nature by itself. Then we have the first track, which is the Others theme, come in, and this is a track made by my musician Harrison, who was actually one of the actors who plays the Other. So I had his music throughout. I love this shot. This is a really good shot. I had his music throughout, and it was just kind of that introduction. And obviously, as you can see here and here, I added credits. Like velocity 10% and that kind of thing. Yeah. But it was losing my train of thought. But yeah, I just put it together. Music. I had some fade out to black because honestly, I didn't know what to put here. That's the truth. I did not know what to put there, so I was just kind of like, yeah, screw it, just do black screens. A issue I kept seeing with some of the clips is I did not film any of these shots with a gimbal, so they were quite wobbly. So what I did was I had to put a warp stabilizer on them, which you can see here. Like there's a warp stabilizer here on this clip here, if it loads. But if you turn it off, it's a lot more completely over the place. Like this is it without it. Like it's a lot more everywhere. For some reason, it goes straight up. But the warp stabilizer really fixed that. It does zoom it in a bit, and how it works is it basically uses like triangulation and like it like warps it subtly. But the thing is, this does not work for super jittery cameras. This only works for if there's like movement in the film that, like you're panning, for example. But if you panned really if you panned really badly, like really kind of like shakily, that's what it would help with. Because you notice that bit where it kind of goes up at the end, it just smooths that out, where it kind of like moves it up subtly, whereas that wouldn't work on a clip that's just shaky. And I learnt that when I was like kind of trying to. It was just way too shaky. It just was not working at all. For example, I know shot specifically is like you can actually see here with this clip, you can see some of that warping, and this is what happens if you don't use it correctly. It can warp like that. So I had to use it sparingly. The other thing was, though, is every time you used it, you had to render it out, and it was a bit annoying to do that every single time, but, you know, you do what you have to do. Once I'd done the intro, obviously I did this kind of bit to the music, because, you know, you need to do something to the music. With audio, I immediately had an issue with the audio. Now, as you can see here, I have some ambient audio that I captured on the Zoom recorder, and then the rest of it is the camera mic, like the mic on top of the camera. The issue I kept seeing was I had so much damn background noise. So much. I mean, one second, I'll show you an example here. There is so much background noise. It's not even funny. It's not background noise. It's like this humming. It's this painful humming. Do you hear that? And then with it, like there was so much background noise for no reason, like that, and I don't know why. And it was an issue throughout the entire film, and I'll talk about like how that really got in the way of things. Because the problem is that made it so I could not use any of the ambient audio really to patch in between clips because there is no noise in this audio, whereas there's noise in the other audio. So that was really annoying. But yeah, once I got it put together, I hadn't done the title sequence yet. You can see there's like a title here. I hadn't done that yet, but I knew I wanted this shot to be my title. But obviously, it hasn't rendered out right now, so I can't show you. Actually, if I turn this back on, it should work. There we go. So yeah, I did like a match through kind of thing because yeah, I didn't know what else to do, and I didn't have the time to do tailored art to like actually make it a proper title. So it came onto the first encounter. Now this was actually one of the more difficult ones to edit because there were so many different shots, as you can see, like lots of different angles. Probably the only other shots that actually were on the same lines of this many like bits to edit was the fight scenes because those had a lot of different like kind of action shots. But yeah, this like really came out to have a lot of different shots, and I was fairly happy with all of them. Yeah, I was very happy with all of them. It took me a while to put it together. I didn't alter it much. Like, once I put it together, I put it together. I didn't really change much about it. But I always, when I reviewed this shot, I never really liked this shot. I'm not a big fan of that shot. It's a bit laggy. I don't know why. But I couldn't really do anything about it. But yeah, again, just kept going through it, putting it together. I got this together quite quickly, to be fair, though. Although another issue was, and I keep seeing throughout the film, is like, man, it looks really different without color correction. Was that I was just kind of didn't have enough footage for what I was trying to do in the shot. For example, here, she throws the stick at him, but the problem is, it's like it goes from stick throwing to just like that. It's like there's no build up to it, and that's kind of just an oversight when we were actually filming it. So yeah, that's my mistake there. But I couldn't do it. I kept looking to see if I had anything I could use to kind of patch in between, but there really wasn't anything in any of this. I couldn't find anything to patch through it, so I just had to kind of go with it. Yet again, the audio was still being an issue, so what I did was I just researched how to kind of denoise it thing, and it is literally just an effect called denoise. This thing here, and you apply that to your clip. For example, this clip here, and this is the menu it gives you, and here you can kind of see like the noise in that, and it shows you about it, and you got the amount. Now originally I had the amount of denoising up to 34% to deal with it, but the problem was is that when you denoise it too much, it starts to actually affect the audio underneath, and it starts to make it sound tinny most of the time, very tinny, very hollow, which ruins the audio. But originally, before I went back through it, I set everything to 34% instead of now 23 to 17%, which I use. It kind of differs between the scenes. But that's what I went for now. The other issue was when you denoise something, you sometimes get this thing where when it goes on to the next clip, it kind of makes a sound, like it starts with noise and then the noise disappears, because I think it uses some form of sampling method to denoise it. So when it has nothing to denoise before the noise, it just has noise. And it's kind of like similar to like frame generation or like dynamic or like resolution upscaling in games. How resolution upscaling works is it has to use data from the previous frame and the next frame to then create this frame, which is no, that's frame generation. It uses the data from the previous frame to help heighten the resolution in the next frame. But when you start a game and it opens up for the first time, you can see the raw resolution. I think it's a similar situation here, where when you go into the audio, it has nothing to sample from beforehand, so then it gives you a very, like, sound for a bit. But anyway, from here, kept going, keep putting it together. It was fine. I had a bit of an issue with this clip here, like the continuity in between, but I kind of just went with it. I was fine with it, because it's kind of like, oh, he's like doing that, and then it goes to that. But I was just like, come on, it's not that bad. This was a shot to get difficult with the audio, because he goes like, what do you like this? It goes to that, and it's kind of like, I struggled to kind of bounce the audio, but I got it eventually, like to kind of make it sound like it actually felt overlapped. Here was an interesting part. Now, there's two versions of this clip. If I can find the other version, I'll show you. There's two versions of this clip where, if you notice here, there's a little tiny little random bit there. That is him saying the word well. Now, the issue is the shot where this audio is from, I didn't like. But the problem is I could line it up with what he's saying there. That was kind of fine. It's relatively convincing. But the problem is he says well, and you see him say that there. I'm pointing at the screen with my finger, like you can see that. You can see that there, where he's saying well. So I had to extract the audio from when he says well, stick it in there, and then use the audio from the other clip, because I preferred how he said it in the other clip. And I had to pitch up the well to make it sound like the rest of the clip, because he says it in a higher tone. If you listen to here. And I think it worked pretty well. I can show you an example here of how, like, when you haven't got the fades, you hear it, like the noise kind of restart. Okay, you can't really hear it there. Bad example. But there is sometimes that. You can see here I did use some ambient audio in between. I learned I really didn't need to, as long as I just put these in between. But the issue with putting those in between is sometimes you can hear the audio that you don't want to hear. Like, for example, you can hear me say action because it's using a crossfade. So you can hear a bit of the next clip earlier on. So you had to be careful of that. So you couldn't use it all the time. Kept going through it. There wasn't music yet. So I'm going to disable the music. Yeah, so at this point, I started editing the first fight, and I was excited for this. Jesus, I don't know how I'm going to talk for like 50 minutes. These shots were fine. I was happy with it came out. You do notice there's a bit of a continuity area where he stood here, but then in the next shot, he's against the tree. That's not good, but I don't care. Can't do anything about it, and it's not too bad. This was a shot that was fun to kind of edit together. It was because we had multiple takes of this shot. This shot took him so many tries to do because he couldn't grab the stick right. Every time they'd go in, he would anticipate it too much, and it would kind of like look like he's going for it anyway. But I wanted a shot change here, so it was really hard to kind of get the right clip here and the right clip there, and it works for the most part. I think it's convincing enough. I might be able to alter it a tiny bit, but honestly, it took me so long to kind of get in line anyway. Like, it works. I'm fine with that. I think it works. So if we continue forward here, so it keeps going. It's just kind of usual. These shots were kind of interesting to do. The thing is, I don't know what to talk about first. You know what? I'm just going to talk about how I put the clips together, and then I'll talk about all the tidbits. No, I should just talk about when I do it. No, I'll just talk about when I do it. Here you can see that I wanted this kind of blur effect, because I wanted to be kind of zooming towards them. Kind of like a crash zoom. You see the blur around the crash zoom. But that only has when you actually zoom it in with the adjustment layer, whereas this, I'm actually physically moving forwards. So what I had to do is I added a blur. You can see here the keyframes. I added a directional blur around the edges here, made it so they were going vertical, because if you had it any other way it wouldn't really work. So I made it so they were going vertical. You feather it, so it's like, if it's not feathered, it's kind of very stark like that. You can see it's like completely kind of sharp. We don't want that. You want it to be feathered around. And it is, yet again, relatively convincing. Adds to it. I have a sound effect where it's kind of like whooshing towards them. And it's the same thing for here. I did it here, there too. What I would do, I could feather it even more so it's kind of going all the way in. Because right now it just kind of looks like it's the edge zooming. Here we had the whip pan, and I know how to edit together whip pan. What I realized though is when I'm whipping, you can already see the shirt there, and that's a fault of me when I was actually filming it, and I never realized that. And it was like, whoops! I've kind of just fecked it now because it's there, but it's so fast that you see the white of the shirt anyway in a second, so it's okay. But yeah, again, relatively convincing, works pretty well. Added a sound effect to it, zips over. But the issue was that when I did the next pan, because what you need to do is you need to whip it one way, and then when you go back the other way, you have to start it that way, going right, for example, here. I made it 2 shots. It's 2 separate shots. Like you can see here, it's like 2 different shots. It goes from this one, and then it cuts, and then it has to go to that one, because it's whipping back. So I added a morph cut in between, and it kind of works, more or less. It looks a bit janky, but I just don't think you'll notice it in the kind of the speed of it. But it whips back to him. But it looks, I'm happy with it. It looks good. You still can see the shot, but yeah, again, because it's going so fast, you miss it. My mouth is so incredibly dry right now, I can't explain to you. So, yeah, again, kept going. This is kind of where I actually had to edit together some of the action. So we have like a shot here, she starts running. And then it was about lining, with continuity editing, it's about lining up the shot. So for example here, you see her last limb, like here, it's her right arm in front of her. So in the next shot, it needs to still be her right arm. Oh, I've just realised that's not right. I mean, how have I not realised that? This is embarrassing. 1 second, let me watch it back. Yeah, it looks fine. I could probably make that more continuity correct, but you can't really notice it. Now we took a lot of takes of this shot, but we still got it. It still worked pretty well. And then this shot was a bit tricky because I didn't like kind of a certain aspect of it, but I had to go with it because it's the shot that kind of like tracked down properly, and it looked like it made sense from here to there. This is a shot. We had a couple takes of this. There was really nothing else I could do about the shot. I'm not a big fan of it. It just looks a bit like, really, but it's fine. But yeah, again, it's just about kind of getting the continuity in between consistently. Now this is a shot that's fun because I wanted it to kind of zoom back. I sped up the footage here, where it kind of goes here, so it goes faster. Which kind of just helped with the pace of it, and it made it go into this shot a lot better because that's a quite fast shot. And it was yet again kind of line up the continuity there, bringing his leg up, and then he's down. Audio here was the same, denoised it, but I denoised it too much. I made it 34%. I went back over all of it, and I told you about when I went back over it. Did it 34%. What I noticed was the footsteps or the sounds sounded very crunchy but echoey at the same time. It just wasn't satisfying, so yeah. I did a black spot here because I mean, it's funny, he gets knocked in his ass. Language. He gets knocked in his ass, and then ta-da. I love that. This shot was originally longer, but I didn't think like it needed the full length of it. So it just kind of goes from there, and then because originally he asks, whose was this? Who's George? Because it has the tag George in it, because obviously it's from George, which is like owned by Asda or something. But I just didn't feel like it needed that, so I kept it out of it. So then it comes to this shot, and yet again it was lining up the continuity of like how he's walking and that kind of thing from there. And I wanted to make this, and then it goes into like a top shot where it transitions into then here. I still did some audio while I was going through it. So here, for example, this is like a kind of water sound effect. No, it's not. That's the music, sorry. Here. So I added a water sound effect that made it subtler because you couldn't actually hear the water from this shot, but I wanted you to be able to if I play it. Yeah, it's very quiet because without it, you can't hear it. So yeah, I added that there. But this shot already had water in it, it was fine. So this sequence here is the stream sequence, and it consisted of only three main different shots, which was two 180-degree angle shots, and a master shot, which this is the master shot, and then you have his 180-degree, and you have her 180-degree. And then, yeah, other than that, it was just splicing them together. It wasn't too hard. I made some of the clips overlap with the dialogue, so it kind of helps fill continuity more. Man, this clip is dead with color, and you haven't got like color correction in it. Bloody hell. Yeah, that's too warm because it was a cloudy day. Jeez. um, yeah. So I made the audio kind of overlap because I felt like it just kind of made it feel a bit more like connected and not like two different instances like that. And that's kind of something I do it throughout the film. Is I have some of the audio overlap because it just kind of makes each clip sit into each other more properly. There's a cat over there. Sorry, I'm looking out the window. And yeah, again, it's just balancing, just different shots there. Here's where we had some specialized shots. You can see again, for example, here, what I did was I overlapped the audio of this shot because she's not saying anything. No, wait, she is. What I had to do is the audio for this shot here of her hand going to the water, I had to delete, then put another water audio in there to fill in that sound, and then I had the audio from this clip be the audio you hear here. I also made it a bit quieter because obviously kind of the camera's further away from her face, so I made it a tiny bit quieter, just kind of making that feel a bit more robust. Yeah, again, you can. There's sometimes a lot of people, what they do is they go into the effort of like saying, oh, I'm going to cut it there, I'm going to cut it there, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to shove that in there. It's like there's no point of doing that when what you would have to do is just stick it over the top. That's it. There you go. It automatically does it for you. And that is the thing that I kind of just worked out doing. I was just like, yeah, just do it like that. Don't overcomplicate it for yourself now. There's no point. And yeah, again, it's just the mass shot goes back to the other one. Just keeping that consistency throughout. After that was another establishing shot. Yeah, again, I did not have enough B-roll. So I was like really scraping together. I used the warp stabilizer in this one again because this shot was very, if I turn my grade on because it won't work without it. Oh, it's not rendered out. That's what that red line means by it. I didn't realise what the red line meant. I was just like, okay, why is it doing that? So I never knew I was really stuttering. I thought it would just be okay when I exported it, but I realised you can just render it out by pressing enter, but it will take a while, so I don't need to do that right now. Now this was kind of like the discovering the hideout scene. Yeah, guys, kind of one long take. There's one quick shot of the tree, so I just stuck that in there, you know, over the top because you don't need to cut out a bit. This is very simple. We're just kind of putting it together. I had some ambient audio filling in the bits in between. This was kind of before I realized I could just kind of do the audio like that. Yeah, again, just kind of going for it usually. This was kind of a bit, this was originally just kind of one clip, but then I was like, okay, I want a different angle on this. Because I just felt you needed to, just to keep remembering the kind of like where they are and the scale of what's around them. And I always, when I'm doing this outside perspective, I always felt it is like an outsider watching in almost. And that's kind of what I like about that. So I have two different shots here. It's kind of carrying over to there. You notice here, the camera pushes in. I had another clip here that I could use, because remember she laughed at the other one. See, it goes like that. Now, it actually lines up, like his face turning and that kind of actually, it does line up perfectly, actually. Except for her face. But, yeah, again, the thing is, the audience just wouldn't notice these things, because even I didn't notice her face didn't line up there. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, I didn't notice that. And that's what I'm saying, is just like, you can get away with these things, because, like, if you actually watch a film, you'll see, like, not often, but every now and then you will see kind of, like bits where it's like, oh, wait, that's that part overlapping. But regardless, yeah, it lines up. I just don't like this disconnected shot. It kind of goes from there to there, but I didn't really have anything else to put here. So I just kind of had to do it like that. But it's alright. Another issue I had here was that I didn't have a shot to be able to segue effectively. Because when she says, it's been here since I was here, That was originally part of this clip here. Issue is that when she says that, he is not looking forwards. He looks at her. So this shot after this, where he's like, he has an idea, wouldn't work because he's not looking forward. So what I had to do is I overlapped her saying that with this clip. Then he had an idea, and then yeah, it continues from there. I don't know what this is for. It's kind of a placeholder because I didn't have a shot to put in between there. But this is where, pardon me, I need to go and get my train. I will complete this another time. Bye bye for now. The kind of where the other kind of gets the idea, and it was this wasn't like, it wasn't originally in the screenplay, I don't believe. No, it wasn't originally in the screenplay, but when we filmed it, I can't remember who it is. When we filmed it, I was very excited for it to edit it together, and I wanted it to be this like over the top kind of like moment. And you can see here we have got music for it, but I'm not going to show you yet because I haven't done the music yet, obviously, technically. It was just kind of just, like really over the top moment where he's like having this like epiphany, and this is kind of where the origin starts to kind of like get along with his bullshit. Can't say that. Get along with his shenanigans a bit more, and it kind of just shows that progression there, which is nice. It was very simple to kind of together. I kind of knew what I needed to do. Bit short here, a short under bit, but yeah. So then we came on to building the hideout. Now this is probably the section that went through the most iterations, probably at 2-3 changes, like just kind of as a flow. And a lot of that was because I had one of my actors, Harrison, here. He kind of looked through it and thought, hey, maybe we should change that bit. And I was like, yeah, you know what, fair enough. But I'll get to that when I get to that. These two bits stayed the same. They were just back to back, which I'm fine with. It was this. So when we get to this part here, I'll zoom out, this kind of whole section is like a back and forth. And it's kind of just like a back and forth storytelling that kind of keeps you going, like keeps you on your toes. And for example, like here, you'll hear he's like going to jump on the tree at the end of it, and then it cuts back to him later on here, and then again here, and then again here, and then also one more time at the end, right at the end where he falls over here. And it's like, and it's the same thing for the for this kind of sequence here, like them being here. That's back and forth. I included a bit here where the dialogue kind of overlaps, and it's just kind of like a filmic choice, really. I know other films have kind of done something like that. Yeah. It's just kind of, yeah, again, it's just that pacing to keep you with it. But originally, it was cut up a lot more. This was like, this was not back to back, these two shots. It was like, there was another one of these shots in between. But, yeah, my actor Harrison said, I think she's just like, I think it's two back and forth, just put it together for once, and I was like, yeah, fair enough. Not put it together for once, but I put it together to one, and I was like, yeah, fair enough. So I did that. I also added the warp stabilizer in here, because without it, it's just kind of, just a wee bit, like, for some reason my camera just goes like that. Like there, it just goes up and down for some reason, so I was like, I'll smooth that over. Yeah, like I didn't like that, so I put a warp stabilizer on to stabilize that. And yet again, this is a scenario where you can use that because, if you see here, it's very smooth. Because it's not a juttery shake, it's more of an actual movement, it's able to smooth that out. There's him falling there. You wanted to leave enough time for it to kind of linger. Yeah, again, it was just kind of going with the pace of it. Like, you had all that loud crash, and then here it's just literally no lines are said, but you just, like, at the end, he just goes, like, he goes, like, I like that she actually looks at him when he looks away. He just does that. And yeah, again, it's just keeping up that kind of comedic pace. Here's a nice bit. This was what used to be at the, like, just a bit before when it was a bit different cut up. This was before that shot there. But, I like this kind of like a callback to her sticking her hands up to check the time. He tries it, but he doesn't understand how to do it. Then yet again, it's just a bit more here. It actually progresses a bit more. You have here, and I include like a kind of little snippet here where it kind of cuts back to this shot here. But I kept the audio in line. I still added this audio. It was kind of pointless, but it was just to keep the ambience correct. I have heard a thing where people are confused with this section where the Origin's doing the vines, and it cuts a shot of Harrison doing the vines when it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be her doing it. It's more meant to be kind of like a cut to the future, like this shot. I don't really know what to do about it, but yeah. This is one of my favourite shots of the entire film. This was improvised, and it was probably funny. We did like 3 versions of it. We did the version where he turned them on, did the version where he turned around, and then did the version where he turned around and turned them on. And it's kind of like either did he do it purposely, did he do it an accident, did he do it and then he was like, oh, I want to be dramatic about it. But we kind of just went with this one because it was just kind of the most clean and funny. And then this is a funny gag where he's like trying to fist bump her, but he just doesn't let her. But I also like this bit where it's kind of like that final callback, that final blow, and he just falls over. And then it just keeps going. Yeah. Had some B-roll here. Just, you need a B-roll. Just kind of set the tone of the next shots. This was not originally a screenplay. This was the idea of my actors, and it was perfect. I think I went to dump the footage. When I came back, they were like, "Oh, we have an idea," and it was probably the most perfect shot ever. Now you notice here the focus constantly in this film, like flexing out, and I wish to God I did not do it as much as I did, because it kind of affects this shot. This shot was a lot better without it, or even just once or twice, but it just happens too much. But can't do anything about it. But I want this to be just one nice long shot. See, we have. Yeah, guys, I don't want to go over the music yet. This is the second fight, but we just went through it. I just put it together. Wasn't much to it. This, we had a lot of angles for this shot for some reason. Like compared to other shots, we just had a lot of different angles for this one specific shot of him going to get the stick, which is fine. They all work together, I think. I've been kind of going for it. I remember though, lining up the continuity of those 2 shots was a bit tricky. And you notice it's a lot more sunnier in one shot than the other, but we'll sort that out there. There's a bit of a continuity error here. Actually, not entirely, but yeah, it just needs a bit off. But then it goes into the fight. This is a shot that took a couple times because I just couldn't get the camera right, but it's fine. Yeah, and we got that shot there. And it goes into the next one. And yeah, again, this is continuity. I think it lined up really well. Like, you go from swing there to swing there. And then it goes up like there. Yeah, it works really well. And just doing it purposely and doing it well kind of helps the viewers think there's a lot more like put together. Because they're kind of like, oh, it's changing shots and it looks consistent. But yeah. Then... Oh, pardon me. Then here, it's the kind of the other almost leaving. And originally I put together, it was very simple. Yeah, again, it was kind of like keeping the continuity there. I think I met there. I wanted another shot here at this angle. I just thought it was important because you kind of see him look back, almost like he's like, I wish I could like stay. He looks back again. And then you have it here. The thing is, I was going to use the audio of her in the actual shot saying stay the night, but I kind of like the fact that it was distant. Like almost we're with him about to leave and we're kind of just like, oh, we're going to get to stay. And then we hear it and we're even like, wait, what did she say? And I like that. I love this section. This is probably one of my favourite scenes. Just kind of the joy in his face, bless him. But yeah, that was a quick one to put together too. Campfire scene was interesting because, yeah, again, very simple to put together because we filmed it very simply. The only issue was this in between section here where, well, you see here we have the audio now, but I'll talk about that later. we missed 3 lines. I didn't have a shot from either or anything. So what I had to do is I put 2 like kind of outside clips in its place. In its place to fill that in basically, and I decided I had to do some ADR, like additional lines to fill that in. And then again, smooth sailing. Issue here, you may spot it. Have I turned off the mask? I have. Issue here, you may spot it if I turn off this. His screenplay is in the way. Which is a big whoopsie. And it was funny because when we were filming it, he literally said, "Oh, is the screenplay in the way?" No, it wasn't. I didn't think it wasn't, but I'm blind. So you can see his screenplay there, and that was a bit annoying. So what I tried to do is I tried to put a mask over it to cover it up, and I tried to track it, but it just kind of works, but it kind of loses itself there. You can see that it kind of loses itself. So I'm debating whether I keep it in or just leave it. Maybe it's less noticeable if it's not there. Yeah, again, just keep going through it. I need to turn off the music there, yeah. You see here, with the 2 shots we used earlier on. From earlier, and I kind of stole those, put those in. But yeah, sorry, I was fucking around with the colours. Then I had it to fade to black because you can hear him laughing, and I kind of just like that it faded to black, like very subtly. And it's like a new day. It's like almost it went to sleep and it's a new day. I didn't want any music here. I just wanted it to be kind of like just you with the nature, kind of going with it, experiencing it. This is the selecting this. Now putting this together, it was fine. I made a choice here. She starts waving, and then it cuts to him waving, and it cuts back to her waving. But the thing is like originally what I did was I literally just had the clip, cut it, moved it, and then put the other waving instead. Well, what the issue was is that it was like her waving and then him, and it cut back to her again, but she's on the exact same pattern of wave because it's like no time space. So what I did was I put the full clip, cut out the middle instead, so it actually looks like she was being waving while he waved at her. So it it just seems a bit more realistic. It's not like, oh, she just somehow seemed to be the exact same place with her hand. I like this shot. I like it. It's blown out, kind of like that edge light on his face there. This was a kind of a weird shot to kind of find. I had multiple takes of this, but this was the only one that kind of worked for the continuity. You can see here he's facing that way, and then he's like there. It doesn't really make much sense, but you don't think about it. It's more for like this angle here, so there's more. Pardon me. There's more continuity between these 2 shots. And again, it's kind of like I wanted to see the sticks for a second. Because I wanted that contextual, and then you see he realizes, and then I did a little slow zoom here. If you see, I did a little slow zoom, which you just do by, if you go here, into motion, you got these stopwatches, and you can just set keyframes automatically. So I made it so it zooms in scale. You can see the scale growing there by a certain amount. At the same time, you see the rotation degrees change from 1 to like 9, and that's what gives that kind of like slow zoom effect. I carried the sound over from the shots here, so you see I just stuck this on top because there's no point of cutting it. So you'd have the sounds of the sticks being rustled in this shot, which kind of helped it feel more real, and like made it so there wasn't any mistakes. Then we have 2 slow-mo shots, 3 slow-mo shots, which obviously don't have audio, so we've kind of covered it with music by choice. I was intended for that anyway, and I have got some sound effects here of the. Alright. One of these clips is to buy it a bit faster, just kind of fit the pace better. Other than that, pretty simple. Then now we get to the other suit-up scene. I have this one longer shot to kind of establish what's going on. This then moves on to these like quick succession shots. Now, a lot of this was it was important for me to kind of keep up the pace of this entire shot. I want to be bam, 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 bam. Like kind of influences by like Edgar Wright and that, for example. But yeah. I don't know why, but every time I look at this shot, I just think it's like a really perfect shot for no reason. I don't know what's about it. It just looks different to the rest for me. Um, anyway, over here now these clips haven't rendered through technically, so I can't show you in full succession. But basically, it's what it is like these are like kind of like speed ramps and downs. So it speeds up, and then slows back down, kind of like that. Just kind of I don't know. I just felt like it kind of fit the pace of it. And it's the same here. Now, yeah, again, it's very stuttery. This is not going to be stuttery using optical flow, but effectively, as you can see here, there's a lot of different speed ramps. So it's kind of like goes from normal to fast, and then slows back down, fast again, and then one more kind of slow there. This is funny though. I like this shot. Other than just being really awkward there. Yeah, again, it's this technique of just sticking it over the top, because what's the point of going into excruciating detail? Now here, it's a bit funny. I've changed a bit, quite a bit, this bit. Kind of going into each other. It's two different shots. And it kind of cuts into a faster one. I didn't really come out the way I intended to, but I can really do about it. So, yeah. Then we had the main fight. We have a slow-mo shot here. I actually went into it and sped up the beginning section. No, sorry. I went from the normal speed, sped up that bit, and then went slow there again. Yet again, it was just a lot of continuity editing, kind of getting it so it lines up correctly. With the swipes and all that. Yeah, really, yeah, again, not much to note at all. What happened was though, at the time, I had to edit these sections as different sequences, because my musician, who is also my actor, Harrison, needed the shots for the music, so I had to do those first, then screen record them, and then give that to him so he could make the music for it. And this is one of the scenes that I edited separate, and then copy and pasted into the main sequence here. So yeah, I actually did the argument first before the fight. I actually ended up doing the argument first, which is this whole section here. The argument's a very long section, and all it really is just long takes. Not much interest to that. It's pretty simple. A lot of in between shots. There is a little tidbit here where you can see some of the fence. Can't really see it now. That's a fence there. So I sped up this whip pan to try and like kind of hide it. And I think it worked. I hope it worked. But yeah, again, it was very simple thing there that just kind of put together lots of different takes. Then we reach the night scenes. Now, yeah, again, I kind of knew already in my head how I wanted to put these together. The scenes always kind of sat in my brain, ready to go. You have this shot here, this behind shot, that's kind of persistent throughout. I think it's up to 3 times. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. And I call this, like, I don't know what the actual name for it is. I call it callback editing, and the same thing was in the montage scene of building the hideout, where you're cutting back or forwards to kind of like bits that started earlier on to see it more. And yeah, not much is happening. It's kind of just from behind, but that's just that constant kind of like this consistent part throughout where everything else is like kind of happening around. And I absolutely love that shot so much. But yeah. So yeah, again, it was pretty similar. I added the black bit here because I just kind of felt like it just felt right. I actually made it so the audio, because I actually didn't realize, but I said actually 4 times. I'm tired. I did a bit of shaky here. Like I just kind of started shaking it a lot here. I don't know why I did that at the time. I guess it's because now I know why. But what I did was I put the audio up to match that. To kind of match that feel. I'll put it up a bit more actually. Yeah. Then this goes into the next sequence with the origin. I did a similar thing here with the noise kind of going in it, because I realized it went really well with her breathing, so like went into it. I like that, so I kept that in there because Yeah. Again, very simple. These shots didn't take up a lot of time to film. They were mostly 1 to 2 takes, so it wasn't very hard to sift through them. But I put this together just when I found it was adequate length. Here I tried to add some of the, because the light clicking on and off wasn't in this shot here, so I added it. Yeah, again, very simple. We actually get to the origin suit up here. Now, these adjustment layers of crash zooms, I'll talk about those when I actually get to like the additional stuff I did. But yeah, again, it was just kind of putting that together. Nothing of note, nothing of note, nothing of note. There's another crash zoom there, but I'll talk about that later. Just kept going, kept going. This scene was the bit I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have music for it or anything, so I kind of just did it as it was. Yeah, again, another black screen because truthfully, I just didn't know what to put here, but it worked to me. It works for me. And then from there, it's literally just kind of, yeah, again, more simple shots, keeping it simple. Because we had to keep it simple on the day to film it, because we didn't have the time to do any complicated angles. So here it's just another simple 180-degree rule. Got the job done perfectly, no complaints about it. And then that was it. That was the end of it. It really, assembling it was not difficult at all. Now, after this, I actually did a color grade pass instead of Audi pass. I went for color correction and color grade first. I have a ton of the color grade off right now. The color correction, the point of color correction is to make the colors correct, and for the most part, I did that really mehly, because what I did was on the day is I did not set my camera settings to the correct white balance, which made it, or color balance, which made it so the colors were always completely off. Like, it was super warm when it was not meant to be warm at all on that day. Now all these shots were fine. Yeah, again, simple color correction. I started kind of going, I had to, not even by choice, I started having to go into the real nitty gritty to kind of get the colors right, which is like the, that's not it. Like to skip now. Waveform type Luma. You use the Luma and you have the yeah. I had to start like going into the color wheels and matches to really try and fix these shots because they were so like incorrectly colored. But yeah, you got the most of the intro was completely fine. These shots were a bit tricky to color correct. Yeah, again, because I got the white balance so damn wrong, because I'm an idiot. Got through all that. I had a lot of struggles with her face. It was her face that was a lot of time I was trying to get right. It was coming out too pink sometimes, coming out too green, so I was just going back over and over and over and over and over that face over and over again to try and get the right colours. Here I added a subtle zoom. If you look, it kind of goes like, Jesus, this takes a while to load. It has like a slight zoom in with rotate I added with the stopwatches. Keep going, yet again, nothing to note. The color correction for this scene here, yeah, this was a very warm scene before. If I turn off one of the, if I go here, I turn off like the lumetri color. Like that's how it was a lot warmer before, and you lose a lot of that kind of detail. Whereas when you turn it back on, you kind of get that back. You get that shadow back. You get the stance back. Even though I don't hate how this looks, it's just not right. And I knew I could bring this look back with more detail, with still the same color, like warm colors. After the fight scene, it was the stream scene. This was a very bland scene when it comes to lighting. Grey skies, greyed out everything. It was not pretty whatsoever. And that's what it actually is meant to look like. Because without it, yeah, again, this is where I put the color balance one. It was way too warm, way too bright. So he really just kind of brought out the true colours. It really did look like that. And yet again, it may not look nice. And there's some cases where I felt like I should just be like, just leave it. And that's not true colours, but what do I want to do? Ruin the image? But yet again, I knew I could bring this out in the colour grade, which I believe I did. Yeah. Still great skies, but it's just got that warmness in it now, and it doesn't feel stupidly unnatural. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. Yeah, again, it was a lot harder to color correct for some reason. Like, his face was fine to color correct. I couldn't get her color correction right. Her lumetri scopes were just completely whacked. I mean, look, I had to really move it around. And if you go to here, I had to move all that around just to get it right, because it really was just not in the right places. It was a bit of a nightmare. I added the warp stabilizer here because, oh shit, I can't swear. Added the warp stabilizer here just to kind of smooth out the shot, and actually I think it actually adds to it pretty well. So this shot was a lot easier to color correct. Wasn't much to it really. Yeah, again, it's just kind of, you go through it, you press the auto button, you move around stuff. See, the color balance was quite correct already. I really didn't have to do much. It was just kind of more light preference stuff with and without. It's just a lot more washed out, but that just really brings in a lot of the light and like the shadow and the detail into it. And because this was filmed in the same day, like within the same kind of like time frame, the color correction was quite similar. Yeah, again, there is very few times you can copy and paste color correction. If it's the same shot, for example, this shot is the same shot as this one, right? It's the same angle. You can just copy and paste the color correction over to the other one. It's not a big issue. Always double check it. Always have a look at it, just in case. But 95% of the time, you can just copy and paste it if it's the exact same shot. So the second fight, I mean, yeah, again, wow, with it just brings in, it just unwashes it out and just brings in, and it's not as simple as doing the saturation, not whatsoever. I mean, if I reset this right, and I just put the saturation up, it just doesn't do the same thing as having it like that. That brings the highlights out. It's just, there really is a difference between it. This is one of the tricky scenes. Issue is, for some godforsaken reason, right, two of the shots were so incredibly warm. Like this shot here, right, oh my goodness, the sun just decided to come out for some reason and completely affect the image, so I had to really go in there and just drag so much around. Same with this shot here. This shot was, yeah, again, so sunny and warm, and I just had to move it around a lot to fix it. Literally had to slam the temperature down, and even then it doesn't work properly, but I just couldn't do anything else. And that is, I don't know why that happened for only two shots. I think the sun just must have come out for those two shots. But that was a very tricky time. I spent a lot of time in this fight trying to correct the colours. When it came to the nighttime scenes, very similar story to, actually no, it's not a similar story, sorry. Because it was so dark, a lot of it was about the colour balance. The colour balance was fine. I just put a bit of the warmness in. But it was more just kind of the highlights and the shadows and the blacks especially. Because when you adjust the blacks, it's how black your blacks. If you, for example, in this shot, put the blacks up, it ruins the blacks, right? Makes it very wide out. But if you put too much, then the blacks are too black. So it's about getting that kind of like bit where the blacks are black, but it's not overtaking the image. Now I had an issue here where he left the screenplay in it, so I tried to do a mask and it didn't work. So, whoopsie. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. I can't remember. These shots are pretty simple again. It was a very normal day, and the white balance was actually correct for once, so I did not have to tamper too much with the color balance. Thank God. It was just, yet again, more light. How do I want the light to look? I put the exposure up for these shots because it was inside, so it was just a bit hard to see it. Now the slow-mo scenes are different. Like when you shoot them, they are different quality, so you do have to do a bit more work. And they don't look the exact. I mean, they're pretty close, but they don't look the exact same. But honestly, I don't think it does that much to ruin it. I think it actually kind of like makes it feel like it's intense slow-mo scene. Kind of makes it stand out a bit, and I don't mind that. It's about seeing the positives and the negatives, you know. Yeah. Again, this is a very grey scene just because it's sunny. Not sunny, sorry. The clouds are over, so can't do much about it. Just keep it nice and simple. Keep it nice and simple. The final fight was a bit tricky. I'm trying to remember why. I don't know why, but just these shots were, even now, I don't even think that they are equal. They don't feel equal. They just don't feel right. That's without it. That's with. There's just something off, and I can't get it. This is probably the longest sequence I spent color correcting, and I could never, ever seem to get it right. And yeah, it was tricky, especially this shot. I could not color correct this shot for life to make it look the same as the others. That's without it. That's with. It was really difficult to even get it to look like this, but I'm just gonna stick with things. I can't do anything else. Yeah, again, it was fine, and all these shots, because they're in the exact same light, it was just color correcting them again to be similar. I did have a bit of issue. I went back through this a second time because some of the shots were a bit more warmer than others, so I did have to go back through it again to just kind of redo that. But that was the thing. It was always a process. I did a whole color correction pass, but a lot of the time when I was doing other stuff, sometimes I just decided, hey, that doesn't look right, and I just changed it. Even when I was doing the audio, sometimes I'd be like, hey, that doesn't look right. And that was throughout the entire thing. Even until the last day before I exported it, there was times where I was like, no, I'm just going to change that a bit. It is just about doing it in bulk and then going back over it over time. To color correct these, it was interesting. So I just made this a bit brighter. These shots, I isolated the orange of the sky to make it more orange, really. See here, you can isolate certain colors to then, just put up and down if you want to. For example, here, if I could just slap it down, I can make it completely blue. If I put it right up, I can make it really orange. But I went for more of a middle ground. I did that for all the shots with the sunset in it. You can see here, yet again, isolate the colors. You can see it there. Put it up and down. You can kind of blend it in more by blurring it. But it was really just, I don't want to overdo it. I just want to add a bit more orange with it because, without it, it still looks great. It still is a great looking shot, but I just wanted a bit more of that orange hue to it, like that glow. Makes it feel a bit more dreamy, But yeah, just going through that. Color correct them all. These shots were fine, normal. Yeah, again, it was a similar lighting situation, so it was just a similar color correction process. This shot's a bit weird. I struggled a bit with this shot to kind of get balanced. The red highlights are too high, but once I put those down, it becomes very pale. I didn't like that. What I tried to do is isolate her face and make it a bit warmer, but even then, you do it too much, it looks off. It looks like an Oompa Loompa. So it is really just a bit, again, it's just like, I don't want to make it too warm. Because then it looks a bit silly. Because you can see here, kind of the blues of her nose aren't included. Can I include them real quick? Oh, I can. That actually worked. Oh, okay, that fixed the entire issue. Awkward. Oh, look at that. Completely fixed. That's awesome. That's cool. Awesome. Alright. Well, that's not an issue anymore. That's the problem. This stupid little tool thing set here, just half the time they just didn't work. You had to spam them to make them work. I don't know why they didn't work. Here, again, I actually isolated the orange of the lights. It was a very subtle effect. Like, you literally, I think you can barely tell. Because if I put this down right now, you can barely tell. But I just want to do it anyway, because I really want you to focus on the orange of it. This is a weird shot. This arm shot here was very different to the rest of it. It's very green, I believe. If I check that real quick now. No, it just came out different to the other ones, that's why. Like this shot here was quite, yeah. Going through it again, all this color correction was fine. All of this was normal. This was all normal. What I did here though was with the greens of the grass, because I wanted this to kind of feel a bit different to the rest of the scenes, I isolated the green color of the grass and just smacked the saturation up because I just felt like it felt right in the scene. This is it without it. It's a lot more kind of like boring, dull. It just looks like any other path. That just gives it a bit more of a welcoming kind of like, yeah. Yeah, I just chose to isolate the kind of orange of the grass and like saturate it just more because I just wanted to. This shot here, these shots here, yeah, again simple. I just made sure I got the background here isolated to kind of add that more green and orange to it. This last shot here, I actually did this right in the beginning for some reason. The flowers are absolutely beautiful here, so I isolated the flowers. I just put the saturation and the pinkness up because I just really loved that. But you can see here it actually catches their neck a bit, and there's no way for me to kind of remove it unless I mask them out. But it's just so much effort, you can't notice it like at all. So yeah. Once I've done the color correction, I went straight into grading. Now the grade was it was fun. I talked to my technical guy who works at this college about like how to do grading that, and he said to me it takes a while. You have to go for each clip, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not gonna do it. I somehow did it, and it worked. So here I'm gonna bam it on for you. This is it with. That's it without. Big difference. My whole thing was that, yeah, again, that first fight, the warmness of it, I really liked, and I really wanted to bring that back. So what I did was the kind of light that passes through leaves. Like when I pass through those, I kind of got that color, and that's why I really like cranked up to be warm, like a lot warmer. I think these shots here are perfect. I think they're just perfect shots anyway. Like without, and also I had another pass over here to kind of add a bit more warmth through that light. You can see around there. So that's what that one does, and then this one brings the warmness just in the whole thing. See, that adds a bit more in the leaves there. It's very subtle, but it does. And this is the thing, it's never as simple as just straightforward. You can't just bam in a color grade and say, yeah, it works. It's all worked off the same grade, just per clip. Sometimes I had to make alterations to the actual clip itself just to make it look like how I wanted it to look like. Sometimes I had to add a second adjustment layer to cover an issue. For example, with this adjustment layer, this is to cover specifically kind of the grass around there to make it warmer. This is not actually a grade. This is not affecting the curves. This is actually just an isolation. The warmness and saturation put up a bit. Because an actual grade, what I use mainly to the grade is this thing called curves. Now the curves here, this is huge. I wish I could properly explain to you how it works. I can't for the life of me, because even then, yeah, I just don't know how. But for example here, it curves up, gives you that yellow and orange, curves back down with the green. And that's kind of what the base was for all of the grade. And it shows everywhere, especially in these scenes here, it really shows through these scenes here. Because with, it just gives you that warmness. It's not just about the temperature up, because, I mean, for example, this shot here, if you just, well, actually, let's bring back to one of the nicest shots. If you just put the warmness up on these shots, it would not, it's not the same thing. So if you turn this color grade off and you turn this color grade off, and then I just got this clip and I was like, yeah, you know what? I want it to be warmer. I'm just gonna real quick just select it and just go like bam. See, doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You have to really kind of know what you're going for and just find your way there. Find your way to these colors. Because that's what grade is. It's just how each color is treated technically. So the oranges are treated a lot differently to the other colors. There was not often where I had to do a second pass overwards. There was some shots, like this shot here, was very dark no matter what, so I did a second pass to isolate the green here to bring it back, and the orange, because it just was really dark without it. You can see here, just the orange was shot, it's just non-existent, so I just isolated the orange to bring it back. And it's persist throughout. Yeah, again, all normal. Grade changed a bit through each section, but yeah, again, not anything major. A lot of the time, it wasn't changing grade; it was about changing each individual clip, having to edit those to make it look right. And yeah, again, it's persist throughout. A weird thing here was that these shots here, the ones of him there, were better without the grade. So I just ended up just deleting the grade in these sections. They just look better without it. Had more orange light on him, whereas the grade kind of actually like muted the orange light of the sun on him. So I was like, you know what, it's fine. Just remove it. It doesn't make a difference. But I mean, it doesn't make a bad difference. So, yeah. But the grades worked really well with these shots here. Kind of just brought a bit more blue, and that got rid of that warm tint. You can see here, got rid of that warm kind of tint without it. I just kind of brought it out there. Yeah, again, these shots were simple. Didn't have to change much about these shots. I just came into a lot of issues with this shot here. The side-on shot just didn't seem to look right. You can actually notice here, it looks a bit different there compared to there. And it just takes so much effort to try and work that out. Yeah, again, when it came to these shots, it was fine. Didn't have to do much change because the warmness and orange were kind of already there. I had an issue with the back here. Her arms, like, because she's like the sun on her like skin, blown out her arms so much with the light, and I could not do anything. I tried to even mask her, just her, to then turn down the brightness, but the mask couldn't really trap to her properly, and even then, it just looked really odd that she was underexposed or under-brightened compared to the person next to her. So I just had to kind of like deal with that caveat. And even without the color correction, it's just that's the issue. I couldn't do anything about that. So yeah, that's pretty much the color grade. I need to go to the toilet.